Hello, and thank you for joining me. Um, First, I wanted to start off with talking about the very serious issue that we have facing us right now in this pandemic, known as COVID-19 or the coronavirus. Um, I guess I guess the first thing that I want to say is make sure that you guys are all taking these warnings seriously and taking them to heart. I've seen numerous reports of people still going out and partying and drinking and continuing on as if everything is perfectly fine. Um, though, yes, we have faced other viruses and other crazy strands of different things over the years. It does not mean that because we faced things like this before, that this is similar to the things that we faced before, and we can just ignore it or take it lightly. We have to take this very, very seriously, and we have to take all the warnings seriously. And one of the main reasons why I felt obligated to speak about this, is especially in, I guess, more of a PSA, a public service announcement form, excuse me, is because this is very, very serious, and it's obviously having a lot of ripple effects through other industries and other things. Though I often criticize former officials, and I've criticized President Obama numerous times. This is one of the times where, because of not having a steady hand like an Obama, we're running into many problems. Before, months ago, on my Twitter and on my Facebook, I would constantly retweet or tweet out stories or post stories that spoke about the different things that were going on within the Trump administration, about different scientists that were being fired, industries that were being shut down, the cuts in funding, and numerous things which were being justified in the interest of needing to cut back or scale down government. And that's something which all conservatives and all Republican presidents in general have always tried to shrink the size of government. The only problem with that is a lot of times these Republicans who are going in to shrink down government are not aware of the reason why some of the implementation has been put into place. Yes, true. There are certain things like legislation for freshwater fish versus being in a freshwater stream and silly things. But there's a lot of this information and things which are set up for an actual, a lot of these guidelines that are set up for actual reasons, and we need to take them seriously. And with a lot of the laxing of the regulations and a lot less focus on being prepared for these types of incidents, we are weaker, much weaker as a nation to face something like this. And even under President Obama, because of just the way we do our healthcare system in general, it leaves us very, very vulnerable. Yes, you can still have some headaches and problems under a universal system, but as long as we have all these small mini markets and little mini monopolies, which are set up all over this country, it's always going to leave everything based on a profit motive as long as it's in the private hands. And that profit motive, a lot of times, will lead to harm and death, whether it's intentional or unintentional, because profits normally are being put before the emergency, which is needed to be dealt with. So I just say, we already know that we have a president who's not taking this serious, who has stripped away a lot of the guardrails to protect us from things like this. And we don't have a system which is actually even set up to really handle what we're dealing with. So I just ask for all of you to be safe out there. Make sure you're washing thoroughly. Make sure you're doing all the things which you're hearing that you should do. Another thing which I would also like to say is I would also like for you to take other precautions past just worrying about your own, worrying about, I guess, your health. Um, I worry that because of how I guess pervasive this virus has been and how it's starting to spread across through all the different other aspects of society, it's basically touching every nation and majority of those populations, or at least majority parts of the populations. It's hitting a lot of places, and it's looking really ugly as far as how to slow this down and how much damage it'll be able to do before we slow it down, if we are able to actually effectively deal with it. So if things do continue to worsen, I want you guys to also think about just your personal safety and those things like that, and the safety of your loved ones. If things become dire, and with all the layoffs and things that'll start to roll in, and people start to become behind on car notes and on mortgage payments and things like that, as things get worse, things will get worse as far as crime rates, as far as all those other things like that. So those are the things which I feel really needs to be put to the forefront of your mind and start planning and preparing, so that you're able to avoid some of these negative scenarios, which I see that are possible, which I'm praying that don't happen. But I do see possibilities of a lot of negative things down the road. For many years, I've spoken about seeing a post-apocalyptic society, or at least society hitting a major strain where we'll see it in a way that it's never been seen before. And this is not at all the way I saw it or how I predicted any of this, but I've always felt that it was coming. I felt it was much, much later in my life where we would be living through the possible down throws of actual modern society in many ways. Hopefully that's more a paranoia that I have, and it's not fulfilled all the way through. But as of right now, we don't have very much that we can do as far as slowing down the stock market or things like that. That's going to have ripple effects. And I mean, I personally already know somebody who's been laid off, and they have medical conditions and things that they have to worry about. Also, they have a family, they have bills and many other things. And right now, it's going to be a lot of people who are going to be feeling a lot of pain. And so I ask that we all are aware of that, and any little things that we can do individually to try to help each other through these harder times, because I do expect much harder times. I predicted a depression for easily about 10 to 12 years. I've been depressed. I mean, I feel like in 2008, we basically were right at the brink of it. But the Obama administration, though I didn't agree with the way they handled the recovery did kind of give a stay of execution in a sense to prevent or delay some of the things which I saw coming down, or some of the things which I still believe are going to happen, because we never addressed a lot of the core fundamentals which are failing within our economy. So eventually, if you don't address those things, it's just going to keep happening. I mean, it's going to get worse. It's kind of the same thing as if you had any kind of illness or sickness. If you had pneumonia, for instance, and you just keep taking cough drops for the cough, it gets rid of the cough, but that pneumonia hasn't went away. You're going to need those antibiotics to actually deal with the problem. I mean, it's not the greatest analogy, but I mean, I look at that same analogy with putting somebody who's going to actually do something in office for the people. That's part of why I support Bernie Sanders, versus somebody who is going to go in, just try to be the status quo, and try to be a manager and not actually try to push to make massive positive change, which we actually need in this country. Um, as things keep unfolding and as the situation continues to update, I will do more, I guess, coverage on this, and we will talk a little bit more about some things which I think that you should do, just simple safety wise. Maybe bars for windows. I know this seems a little drastic, but it doesn't hurt to be safe. Some people are not fond of having weapons in the house or things like that. So I feel if you're able to at least protect your home in a secure manner, it can help you avoid some of those situations, or even avoid having to be in a deadly confrontation with a weapon. So like I was saying, bars are some of the things. When I used to work in the garden, I used to advise people to plant cactuses around your windows, especially on the lower levels. It makes it less likely that people are going to try to climb through your windows if they have to climb over a cactus first. And it's not that it would completely prevent anything, but anything which can make your house less vulnerable or less appetizing to somebody who is in need, who has a little bit looser morals and might decide that they might be shopping for which place to break into. Whenever these things start to happen throughout history, it's always showed that crime rates always skyrocket also. And since we're in a different society, and it's so many more people, we have so many more people who live within proximity to each other than we did during the Great Depression. There's just no telling how that's going to go. So I just hope that you guys are all safe out there, that you are taking your precautions as far as washing and hand sanitizer. If you need to self-quarantine, if you need to do whichever one of those things you need to do, please, please, please take all the warnings serious. I say right now, we're picking a president. Please listen to the three that we have. Well, I'm sorry. Listen to the candidates. I won't specify three because they're the main three, which most people know about. Of course, the incumbent president, Donald Trump. Of course, Joe Biden, of course, Bernie Sanders, but we also have Tulsi Gabbard, who's in the race also still. If you're not happy with either of those candidates and you're looking for a very strong anti-war candidate, I advise, look Tulsi's way. If you are looking for somebody who's a little bit more left and you don't care that they might not have a real shot at getting very far, you can also look at some of the green candidates. I've heard a lot of good things there. But I just think that right now with this whole virus going on, we need to be thinking about who is going to be the best leader for us dealing with this and dealing with the falls of the economy which the next president's going to have to deal with, and all the climate issues that are coming also. So in this next 4 years is going to be extremely pivotal on what decisions we make with all the different things that we're facing. I guess with that said, I will leave it here. Hopefully you guys are safe out there. Hopefully none of your loved ones are in harm's way. And, I just, wish everybody the best out there. Thank you.